Hello and welcome to OurTime. Second Chances SA is a non-profit volunteer organisation supporting people in prison, their children and families with a range of custom designed programs to create a brighter, better future. Their Chief Executive Officer is Helen Glanville and she's here.
Hey.
How are you?
Good, thanks, Malcolm.
We talked a few years ago, but we only did a short segment with you, and in talking to you recently, I've discovered there's a whole lot more to your story than just being the Chief Executive Officer of Second Chances. And whilst we'll talk about Second Chances, I would like to talk about you.
Ooh.
Because you're a survivor.
Yes, I am.
Now that's a big open area to be a survivor in, but you're a survivor of bushfires, which is just terrifying. I was brought up in the Adelaide Hills. I went through a really bad fire, I think it was 1956, where we were driving with trees crashing around trying to get back home to save the house. And then later, I think it was 1983 or 4, somewhere around there, that my parents' home was almost gone. They lost everything almost, but the house and the backyard toilet. But you lost everything.
I wouldn't call myself a survivor, I'd call myself an overcomer.
An overcomer's a good
And
expression.
that word is there because it's a mindset. No one actually teaches us how to navigate our way through a disastrous event. And I've learnt the hard way, but it actually causes you to focus on what's really important in life.
Well, life to start with.
Well, to start with,
Yeah.
indeed. But it's important to know that we don't put our trust or a significant importance into things because we can't take anything with us. We came into this world without things. We're going to go out without things. And I think that if you put a lot of emphasis on materialism, you're a bit of a loser, quite frankly. And we did lose a lot of things. My husband lost his French antique clocks and a whole lot of other heirlooms handed down, a 110-year-old Steinbeck piano from Sydney, many, many items that were historic value, family value. I got upset because I lost my corporate wardrobe, as you do. But I have lovely
with
photos.
The big shoulder pads,
yeah,
did you
that
have
stuff.
those?
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know, you do a little bit of travel and you come back with a little bit of jewellery and all those lovely little souvenirs from around the world.
That actually track your life.
Oh,
My
God.
house is full of that sort of rubbish
Oh,
too.
No, mine wasn't rubbish,
Oh, well.
trust me. So
It is when you have to dust it all.
but
It's the quick way to save dusting.
the saddest part was to lose the photographs. And we were down at our office that very day. It was the 5th day of a very, very strong heat wave. And we watched and kept the updates for the CFS updates. And we, as far as we were concerned, the northerlies were taking the fire south to the back of Lobethal, the back of Woodside, and beyond, down to Oak Bank. And we thought, phew, we're safe. And we needed to go out. We had plans to go out that night with friends for oysters. You just don't take my oysters from me. And we were at the Hilton Hotel. I was touching base with my neighbour and she said, Helen, it's turned. I said, what are you talking about? She said, no. She said, we've been warned to get out now. I said, oh, no. Well, I couldn't have got back any if I wanted to.
No, but it's hard to conceive.
Well, it was 7 o'clock at night.
Yes.
So all day we were safe.
Yes.
7 o'clock at night, suddenly the southerlies come and ripped right through the place, jumped the plastic wheelie bins, jumped the wooden cattle ramp, took out 500 bales of hay, destroyed every fence line so that the cattle, of course, went wandering looking for feed because all the paddocks were burnt.
Well, we've got some photos here, so let's have a look at some of these because when you see the devastation after the event, this is like when the fire's out, when the smoke's gone, this is what you come back to.
Well, we lived in a very beautiful, lush valley. It was God's country.
That's not a black and white photo, is it?
No, it's not a black and white photo.
That's a colour photo. You can see the little bit of colour on the sign.
We walked through the paddocks in this black soot and the smoke and the steam was still coming off. It took me 3 days to scrub the black soot out of my skin. So that's a view from the road, from the public road. We were empty nesters and that was my paddock. and the cattle weren't allowed into my paddock. And it was a bit of an oasis, to be frank. We loved it. To me, it was going to be our forever home. But we got catapulted out, and that's a public road, and we had to stop there, obviously, because a tree had come down and collapsed.
As happens, because they virtually explode.
Indeed.
Terrifying.
The eucalyptus oil.
Yes, and the noise of the fire, the smell of the fire, it's just everything is overpowering.
Well, we had no protection. Nobody came in from above, from the air. Nobody came in on the ground. We were completely left abandoned, and that's, I think, how we were completely wiped out. So you'll see that...
And how important it is for the firefighting services, wherever air, land, how important it is for them to be there, but how difficult it can be for them to be there.
We had a huge dam, and in 2015 we said, boys, come on in, help yourself to the drink. And they used our red roof as a land point to do a UE to go back. They'd fill up and then they'd go back to Cuddly Creek back in January 2015. We never thought it would happen to us because we're so far away from everything. We were in the middle of our property. And
but it's through the air. It flies through the air, literally.
Indeed,
it's not about what's burning on the ground.
At great speed.
What's dropping.
Yeah. All these little demonic things were coming out from all angles. And we weren't there, fortunately. So in order to burn the bottom of a wine bottle, it needs to be 1400 degrees Celsius. And so, of course, our wine collection was wiped, as were many vineyards. They were wiped out.
Yes.
A little bit up the road at Mount Torrens, an RAA inspector told me about the molten metal that came from the vehicles that he was inspecting, and that requires 1800 degrees Celsius.
Extraordinary.
So, yes.
There's some shots here of your house as well.
Oh, yes. The special part about our house is that we designed it, and it was a heritage. And we were from New South Wales, and we just really loved that old-fashioned heritage look of the coins and the turn posts and the lace turns, you know. And funny enough, a lot of the wooden turn posts remained, as did the lace.
How did you feel that just a second ago while we were looking at that? I saw your eyes moisten up.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Beautiful memories. We raised our boys there. It was our home, and we made it a home.
Yep.
And it had all the memories of raising up our boys, and it was beautiful fresh air. You know, we were facing north up to Mount Crawford. We were on a flight path for the RAF.
But it's a point you make, you know, memories are really the only thing we've got left. Right till the day we died, really the memories are all we have left, because our lives are constantly changing, but you don't want them to change like this. We've got a shot of your bedroom here as well.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That's actually outside the bedroom. That's okay, it's outside, but that's the courtyard where we do a lot of barbecues, family entertainment, and we had a big shelf full of wood, as you do, because in the Adelaide Hills, when you're 5 degrees colder than the rest of Adelaide, you prepare yourself for the winter.
To have a fire,
and I was a bit of a queen on the chainsaw, and I actually loved my chainsaw. And
you're talking to a Hills boy too, and I still have a wood fire at home because it just makes me feel at home.
Yes, that's right.
Because we did it at home.
It's warm and cosy and inviting. It's therapeutic, actually.
It is. Yes, and it sends you to sleep very quickly if you're not careful. Still the area that was your bedroom, I don't think we've seen that shot yet.
No, not yet.
And that must be difficult too, because that's where you would have kept all your little bits and pieces.
The jewellery. It was the place that it was my home. It was my safe place. And if you work full time down in the city and you travel every day up the freeway, there's a sense of getting up over that hill and you go, ah.
Yes, I know. And we've actually, in this little Pandora's bag here, we've already got a shot of this, but this bracelet, I believe, was found after the event Your children gave it to you?
My eldest son did.
Right.
Several years ago. In fact, the strangest thing was I actually thought I'd lost it. And so there's a volunteer group called Rubicon.
Yes.
And they are the people that volunteer and are fully kitted out to navigate their way through and sift all the dust and all the debris. And they do it safely for themselves. And I couldn't believe it because I was sure I'd lost it, but they found it. And of course, some of the little things have been burnt off and it's all blackened and hard. But it was the only remaining item. I have not one other piece of jewellery, not one other item that...
Black from probably the plastic bits or whatever.
Yeah. My family have actually replaced it with something really beautiful.
Oh, well, that's lovely.
Since then.
Yes. Yeah. Look, it sounds like a negative story, but it's a positive story too. But sadly, you also lost your husband. Not that long ago.
That was more recently, that's right.
More recently, yes.
Yes, well, we worked together. We were one of those couples that chainsawed together, collected the bales of hay off the property together, and we did everything together. And so we worked in second chances together. So he's only been gone now 3 months, but the last 7 years were quite a difficult time for him, and especially the last 2 years. I was his carer. But he never lost his marbles. He was sharp as a tack, and he was committed and dedicated to helping people in the criminal justice system because he himself understood. Right,
and that's what we're going to come back in a moment to talk about that and just what second chances actually is, and we'll see you in a moment. Our guest is Helen Glanville. Helen, just to wrap up what we were talking about before, we were just saying in the break.
The significance of family. It's when you go through a disaster, you realise the significance and importance of family. If we didn't have our son and daughter-in-law to take us in immediately, I think we would have been homeless.
And
there's no doubt about it. Perhaps, because a lot of people did. So the priorities for us after that event was definitely family, friends and faith. And not necessarily all in that order, but you drill down and you realise the importance of all those three things.
Yeah, what's the most important things too?
You can hold on to them, you can navigate anything.
Yep, no, I understand that. But isn't that true of second chances too, when you think it through?
Yeah, it's not a sexy charity. So we actually advocate and represent and champion the cause of the children of prisoners, because it's not their crime.
It gets back to that family thing again, doesn't it?
Not their crime, not their fault. You didn't choose your parents, did you? No. I didn't choose mine. And who taught you work ethic? You know, who taught you to get up in the morning and go to work? Who taught you to complete your education? Who encouraged you to have a vision for your life? So if that doesn't happen in the family, then what chance do some children have? And unfortunately, the language in some families is such that you'll end up in prison just like your old man.
Yep.
So if you hear that...
Heard that, yes, absolutely heard that.
So if you hear that for the first 10 years of your life, after a little while you start to believe it.
Yep.
And so we come along and say you can make the good choices for your own life.
So statistically, there's a word, statistically, how many kids of people who are in the system offend?
Okay, so the repeat, they say the children of prisoners are 7 times more likely to go to...
7 times more likely, yeah.
But academics will tell you that there are 44,000 children of prisoners across the country. The recent report put out by the Commissioner for Children and Young People says 6,000. So just in South Australia. And that is a very sad situation because they are unseen. They're falling off the edge. They're going through the cracks. But the research has been done and all the postcodes and the suburbs have been identified. And that's really where we need to be putting more resources into the schools, because if you truant and mum and dad don't care or don't mind...
It needs to be monitored, doesn't it?
Yeah. And school teachers aren't trained to do that. So where we come in is wellbeing officers call us, come and help us because you have a relationship with the family. You know, the family opens the door to you. So one of the first questions we are asked is, are you the government? No, we're not. Oh, okay, we'll talk to you. Because a lot of these families actually live in a very grey area. An area that you and I, in our middle classness, probably wouldn't appreciate that particular lifestyle.
No.
You can smell
right.
certain things are in the air.
Yep.
And maybe some hair from the pets and other things that are going on that are not conducive or ideal for raising children. And so, of course, we have the love and we have the duty of care to also do the right reporting. But at the end of the day, we try to keep these kids focused to stay engaged in school.
Yes.
So that they can finish basic education at the very least. Because if they don't do that, what hope do they have?
Well, education is the answer to everything, really, isn't it?
Not just the head, it's got to drop down to the heart.
Sure.
But it is important.
But the more educated you become, the more you understand how to live better, you know, how to work better.
Make good choices.
How to have a life, really.
Yeah.
So just let's go through the stages. So just, for example, a parent is incarcerated. Is there some sort of link if they have a family immediately? Or do you have to wait until there's an issue or somebody reports there's a problem in the family home that remains?
So if someone goes to prison tomorrow, they are informed and the word gets around that we can represent them on their behalf and provide birthday presents for their children, for argument's sake.
So
That's a start.
The first port of call is from the person being incarcerated.
Correct. They have that opportunity.
Who knew that? I had no idea that could occur.
The department actually distributes the forms right throughout the system.
Right.
And they encourage it. Now, obviously, there are some parents that have got some sort of distance happening and we have to be on guard as to whether or not there's an intervention order. But essentially, when the child receives a present from mum or dad who are in prison, that's very important to them.
Oh,
and it's something the prisoner can do, even though they're not really doing much. At least they're filling in the form and authorising us and requesting that we help.
And I didn't know that happened. How long has this been happening? How long has the organisation been around?
So we've done birthday presents for 12 years, but we were part of a federated movement called Prison Fellowship, and they were East Coast based, and I'm an East Coast girl. So I understand how some East Coast organisations think.
Right.
And even though they think we in South Australia are parochial, it's actually to our advantage because we get the job done and we're relational. So we were doing things that the East Coast didn't like third-party banking, like storing of prisoners' property, like little important practical things that made the difference for a prisoner because they didn't have friends they could trust. So we were going...
There's a thought. Because the reality is, whilst people are put in prison for whatever reason, the baseline is that they will eventually come out and integrate back into society.
Like it or not.
But if they have no structure to be able to do that, how do they do that?
Exactly. So, as you know, most men don't grow up till they're about 40. And
I don't know. I'm past 40.
You have to think about that.
Perhaps I am grown up.
So they come to their senses and they realise, what have I done with my life?
Yes.
And then they say,
true.
I really do need to make some good decisions. So when they get to that place and they reach out to us, we're there. We're not interested in playing games, but if they're serious about changing and turning around, we'll be there for them. So it's all about assisting them with accommodation, ideas. We don't actually supervise bricks and mortar ourselves, but we will wrap around some supports, connect them into the community where we can, and also give them volunteering opportunities at our op shop and our furniture warehouse because there they meet new people, they're accepted. So unlike some big name charities, we do not do a police check on someone coming into our op shop or furniture warehouse because we already know what they did and where they've been and we already know they've got a criminal record. That's why we want them. And some of them are supervised by the department, by their parole officers. Right. So we want them to feel as if they are accepted, and they have a sense of belonging and value.
I'm sure that's a lot of the problem, really. Just this need to be accepted, a need to find the people who are going to trust you.
Well, the current manager of our furniture warehouse was rejected by a big name charity 10 years ago. And she rang me and she said, oh, we have a policy that won't allow us to have people with criminal records. I said, what? You've got to be kidding me.
Well,
so we interviewed her and she's doing great guns.
Now, talking about that, I didn't even know about this before we talked before.
You don't know a lot of things.
I know.
Yeah,
well,
I haven't. You didn't ask.
I didn't ask because I didn't know, but now I do know. I even know where it is, on Richmond Road here in South Australia.
Richmond Road,
Is there
Richmond.
an equivalent organisation doing the same thing in Victoria?
Who cares?
Oh, we do, because the program goes to Victoria.
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, okay.
I'm a Sydney girl. Why would I care about Victoria?
Well, it's important to us because the program goes to there. No, so just getting back to the store on Richmond Road.
Yes.
So people can donate things to that, and hopefully people in need of whatever, maybe they've just come out.
Correct.
But this is open to the general public.
Absolutely. You can go there and get a bargain.
Yep.
Okay? So you might have a holiday shack you want to set up again. You might have a member of your family that's starting over. You can go in there and you can pick and choose whichever you like. But we also provide a service for victims of domestic violence and homelessness. Because a lot of these big care bears, you know, Baptist Care, Anglicare, Centre Care, you know, whatever, Uniting Care, I call them the care bears, right? They have stock. They have housing stock, but they don't necessarily have the furniture. So we hit them up with an invoice.
I see what you're saying, yes.
Yeah. So they come with their care worker.
Yep.
And
so they can get the microwave oven or the lounge or whatever they're missing.
Whatever they need to set up a home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So as the general public can buy things from you,
yes,
what happens to the money?
Well, it helps keeping us afloat because we're not dependent on government funds. Nobody really needs to or should be. So we have an independent, unfettered income stream from our furniture warehouse and our op shop, and we wouldn't be able to do that if we were actually paying salaries. So both of those social enterprises are fully maintained by volunteers.
Right. That's it really is. It's an extraordinary organisation. It's different to all the others, as you say, but it's really serving a very important part of societal need, isn't it, really?
That's right. That's right. So there are people who feel ostracised and rejected and nobody will accept them, but, you know, as long as they play ball with our code of conduct and as long as they don't play up. I mean, we've even got a rule for our volunteers that they may not ever ask someone else about where have you been, prison, how long were you in? You can't interrogate somebody.
Yes.
You know, that's their past. Their past is their past.
We're
looking to the future.
We're moving forward.
We don't go backwards in our place.
We'll just hold that thought because we have to stop for a tick. Short message and we'll return. And welcome back. We're with Helen. Helen, talk about the mentoring camps.
Yes, well, they're camps that take place, about 8 or 9 of them throughout the year, teen boys, teen girls, primary age, and we take them away and do activities that they would never normally do. And they're supervised and they learn a lot of things. But
These are the children of?
Prisoners, yes. They're the only sort of children we work with. So we specialise in coming around them, and by attending a camp, they make new friends. Yep. And they do new activities. It could be a surfing camp. It could be something up in the Adelaide Hills, an adventure type camp. It could be anything that involves them doing something they've never done before.
But a life that you could say is a normal life.
For 48 hours.
Yep. Not a lot, but it's better than nothing
at all. So we pick them up from the door, we bring them to the campsite, we have volunteers. The ratio is quite tight, so the mentoring can take place and they can feel comfortable and safe to talk about their real feelings, about the feeling of losing a parent or why daddy is where he is and so forth. So they feel safe. They're not just lost in another group of kids. They know that every one of the other kids has a similar scenario.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in the issues we're all the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Helen, it's been actually really inspirational to talk to you on both levels, to be involved with an organisation as you are, and to have had all of this happen to you in the past with the fire, losing your husband, and still having such a positive and generous attitude that you've got?
I need to say that part of my salvation is my work. So when you come from a tragedy of loss, you need to throw yourself. So I hit the ground running on both events.
And you understand other people are feeling.
Absolutely. You do. I don't know how women, get on if they aren't working and they lose their partner of 42 years.
I understand.
So I have thrown myself literally, and I'm very protective and supportive of my staff.
Well, you're a very special person to be around, and thank you so much for being on OurTime. And thank you for joining us on this episode, because hearing both sides of this story, I think, are really inspiring of us all. Thanks, Helen. So until next time on OurTime, keep yourself nice till then, and we'll see you soon.